you ever been alone in a house, certain that you're the only soul within its walls, only to hear a whisper in the wind, a creak in the floorboards, a shadow that moves just out of sight? Picture this. It's a typical evening, the sun is set, and darkness has blanketed the world. You're alone in a house, a place you've always found comfort in. The quietness of the house is soothing, like a soft lullaby that cradles you in its embrace. You're reveling in the solitude, the peace, and the calm that only an empty house at night can offer. But this tranquility is about to take a turn into the realm of the unknown. As the hours tick on, the once comforting silence starts to feel heavy, like a thick fog that's slowly filling up the room. The stillness of the house becomes eerie, the quietness too loud. It's as if the house is holding its breath, waiting, watching. Then you hear it. A soft sound, like a sigh escaping from the very walls of the house. It's faint, barely there, but unmistakable. The floorboards creak, as if protesting the weight of an unseen presence. The whisper of the wind seems to carry words, a message that you can't quite decipher. A chill runs down your spine. Shadows begin to play tricks on your eyes. They twist and turn, creating shapes that seem all too human. A flicker of movement catches your attention, a shadow that shouldn't be there. But when you turn to look, there's nothing, just the same old furniture bathed in the pale glow of the moonlight. Your mind tells you it's nothing, just the house settling, the wind playing games. But your heart pounds in your chest, echoing the fear that's slowly crawling under your skin. The house that was once your sanctuary now feels like a stage for a ghostly play, and you're the unwilling audience. As the night grew darker, the house seemed to come alive with sounds and movements that shouldn't have been there. Can you imagine the chill that runs down your spine when you feel a presence that you can't see? The fear that begins to grow inside you, like a cold seed planted in the pit of your stomach, spreading its icy tendrils through your veins. That's the sensation our character began to feel, alone in the house that night. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. A fleeting shadow in the corner of the eye, an object slightly out of place from where it had been left. Our character tried to brush it off, attributing it to forgetfulness, or perhaps the tricks of the dim lighting. But the strange occurrences didn't stop there. Next came the cold spots. You know, those inexplicable patches of icy air that you sometimes walk into, even in a warm room. They seemed to appear randomly, turning warm corners into pockets of bone-chilling cold in an instant. The character could feel the goosebumps prickling up on their skin, a shiver running down their spine each time they encountered one. Then, whispers began to fill the silence of the house. Soft, unintelligible whispers that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. They would rise and fall, like the ebb and flow of a distant tide, leaving our characters straining their ears in an attempt to decipher them. But no matter how hard they listened, the whispers remained just out of comprehension, adding to the growing sense of unease. The climax of these unnerving events was the sound of footsteps that echoed through the empty halls, growing louder and closer. Yet, when our character mustered the courage to investigate, they found nothing. No sign of anyone else in the house. Our character tried to rationalize these occurrences, attributing them to their imagination or a draft in the house. But deep down, they knew something was amiss. The fear continued to grow, turning their once familiar home into a maze of shadows and whispers. The unseen presence grew stronger, almost palpable, and yet there was no one to be seen. What do you do when the unseen decides to make itself seen? Imagine, if you will, that the world as you know it is about to be turned upside down. The very fabric of reality is about to be torn apart, and you are the sole witness to this otherworldly spectacle. This is where our character found himself, standing on the precipice of the unknown, teetering on the edge of a chasm filled with the shadows of the unseen. As the minutes crawled by, he felt a chilling gust of wind that seemed to seep into his very bones, turning his blood to ice. The temperature in the room plummeted, and our character could see his breath clouding in the frigid air. An eerie silence descended, the kind of silence that is so profound and absolute it seems to drown out even the rhythm of your own heartbeat. Suddenly there it was, a formless figure, a specter of the night, a ghostly apparition that was as terrifying as it was fascinating. It was a silhouette shrouded in darkness, a phantom that was at once there and not there, a paradox that was impossible to comprehend. Its presence was so overwhelmingly powerful, it seemed to suck the very life out of the room. Our character could not move. It was not that he was paralyzed by fear, but rather he was held captive by the sheer primal terror that had gripped his heart. The apparition did not harm him, but its mere presence was enough to send chills down his spine, enough to make his heart pound against his ribcage like a wild animal trapped in a cage. The ghost was an enigma, a riddle wrapped in a mystery. It was a nebulous entity, its form constantly shifting and changing like smoke curling in the air. Its eyes, if it had any, were hidden in the depths of its formless body. But our character could feel its gaze, a gaze that seemed to pierce through his very soul. It was a gaze that was as cold as the grave, as unfathomable as the ocean depths, as terrifying as the abyss itself. Despite the terror, our character could not tear his gaze away from the apparition. It was like staring into the heart of a storm, witnessing the raw, unbridled power of nature. It was a terrifying spectacle, yet it was impossible to look away. The ghost was a paradox, a contradiction that defied all logic and reason. It was a presence that was at once terrifying and fascinating, a presence that was impossible to ignore. As the minutes ticked by, our character found himself caught in a macabre dance with the ghost, a dance that was as chilling as it was mesmerizing. The ghost did not speak, it did not move, but its presence was enough to fill the room with an aura of dread, a sense of impending doom that was impossible to shake off. In the face of the ghostly apparition, all rational thought fled, replaced by sheer primal terror. When dawn breaks after a night of terror, what remains? What lingers in the air, once the sun has driven away the shadows? A chill, a sense of unease, a memory of fear that refuses to fade. This is the aftermath of a ghostly encounter, the chilling residue that clings to the corners of our mind, long after the specter has vanished. Our protagonist, once the master of their own home, is now a stranger in their own domain. The home, once a sanctuary, is now tainted with the spectral presence that dared to intrude upon their solitude. The comfort of familiarity is now replaced by a haunting uncertainty. Every creak, every whisper of the wind through the rafters, every flicker of a shadow, becomes a chilling reminder of the ghostly presence that once held them in its icy grip. Our character is left shaken, their nerves frayed to the breaking point. They pace through the rooms, their eyes darting to every corner, every crevice, searching for something that isn't there. Or is it? The ghost may be gone, but the echoes of its presence remain, a spectral stain that no amount of sunlight can erase. And so, they're left questioning their sanity, the rational mind wrestling with the irrational fear. Did they really see a ghost? Or was it all a product of their imagination, a nightmare conjured by the darkness? But then, how do they explain the lingering fear, the chill that refuses to leave their bones, the sense of dread that pervades their once safe haven? In the harsh light of the day, the house is just a house again. The shadows retreat, the echoes fade, and the spectral presence is banished, at least for a while. But the memory of the ghostly encounter lingers, a chilling reminder of the night of terror. It's a stain on their sanctuary, a spectral imprint that refuses to fade. And as they look around their once safe haven, they realize that they are no longer alone. Even in the light of day, they can feel the ghostly presence watching, waiting, a chilling reminder of the night of terror. In the cold light of day, the house was just a house again, but the memory of the ghostly encounter lingered, a chilling reminder of the night of terror. How can one forget the terror of a ghostly encounter? It's a question that echoes in the mind, long after the apparition has faded into the ether. The memory of the encounter is etched in the soul, a chilling reminder of the unknown that lurks in the shadows, unseen yet palpable. The house, once a sanctuary of solitude, has now taken on a sinister hue, the silence no longer comforting, but an eerie reminder of the ghostly presence that once roamed its corridors. The solitude, once a solace, now carries a haunting echo of the uncanny encounter. The fear of the unknown persists, a spectral specter that refuses to fade away. It's a chilling reminder that the world is filled with mysteries that defy explanation, and sometimes these mysteries choose to reveal themselves in the most unexpected of ways. And so we're left with a haunting memory, a ghostly encounter that forever changes our perception of solitude. Once you've felt the chill of a ghostly presence, solitude never feels the same again.